is going on, everybody, man? King Recon here. Welcome to day number 10 of the 25 days of Santa Recon. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, if you've been watching the previous installments, Recon, why aren't you wearing your Santa hats? I'm like, where is it? I thought this was 25 days of Santa Recon. Well, you see, for this one in particular, I cannot wear a Santa hat. For this one in particular, I have to put on something else. And that something else is something that has been with me since, I believe, December of either 2005 or 2006. It's something that every single time that I look at it, it reminds me of the incredible journey and adventure that was this series. It's something that whenever somebody comes into my house who is a relative or a friend or somebody that that comes into my house that knows of this series, they always mess around with it, look at it, sometimes even put it on. This thing is as battle-tested as the series itself, son. So I gotta put it on, man. Even if it's for a couple seconds, dude. This thing right here, along with this Gaara figure, and this Naruto figure, and whatever my Rock Lee and Kakashi figures are, I got them around the same time. But the headband, in particular, is the one that whenever I look at it, it reminds me of the entire journey and adventure up until this point in time, bro. And that was especially true whenever this series came to an end in 2014. You know, as I'm sure it is for a lot of people, the big three has a really, really special place in my heart. It was whenever I first initially got introduced into watching anime online, into reading manga online, and into discussing it on like message boards, forums, and really diving into the internet aspect of talking to other people about this kind of stuff, aside from it just being at school or with family members or whatever the case may be, or in the neighborhood. But listen, man, today we are going to be talking about Masashi Kishimoto's Ninja Tail. And in particular, the end of that ninja tale known as Naruto-san. To this very day, it's hard for me to believe and comprehend that this series is actually over. Because it's something that I've been with for so long that I feel like it's still a part of me. I feel like it's still, you know, a part of the entire experience that is anime and manga. And anytime that I go back and I listen to those old openings from either part 1 or from Shippuden, or I listen to like the old soundtracks, it never fails to make me feel nostalgic and put a smile to my face. I think something that if in this series of like 25 days of Santa Recon, if I'm gonna be talking about my favorite experiences from this decade, there's no way I can leave out the insane experience that was the day that chapter 699 and chapter 700 Naruto dropped, man. Because up until that point in time, I was really, really enjoying that final Naruto versus Sasuke fight. And it's one of those, like, that entire batch of videos, something I really, really miss from the old channel, because now that's something that's lost forever for sure. But I really, really enjoyed a lot of that stuff, man. Just being able to react to it and come on here every single week and talk about it. But those last 2 chapters dropping on that day was absolutely insane, man. Because they dropped at different points, I had to do 2 separate streams. So I did a stream when chapter 699 dropped, and then I did a stream when chapter 700 dropped. And just seeing the actual finale to Shippuden was something that really changed my perspective on one particular character that skyrocketed him up into being one of my favorite characters in the entire series, whereas beforehand, he was not one of my favorite characters. In fact, it was like the complete opposite. He was somewhere towards the lower end of the spectrum for me, and that was Sasuke. You know, Sasuke, for me, for such a long time, I didn't really understand his character arc and what Kishimoto was trying to do with his character arc. But after I read chapter 699, I completely understood, and it made Sasuke one of my favorite characters in the entire series. To this very day. To this very day, I still call that man Sauce Goat. Because that man is full of sauce, and he's a legend, son. That's my boy right there. And it was one of those things where Kishi proved me wrong and really made me love one of those characters that I just spent the entire series just wondering where this character arc was going to lead, especially after the whole Sasuke and Itachi stuff from Shippuden. The second one. After the first one, I had a great idea of where things were going to go, but after the second one, I was like, man, where is Kishi going to go with this? And then when Sasuke fought Naruto at the end, I was like, brother, what is this man going to do? Especially whenever they announced there was only 5 chapters left. I was like, bro, what is left for this man's character arc? But in one chapter, I truly came to realize why it is that Kishi went throughout all of that that lengthy character story, a lengthy character arc for Sasuke that went all the way from his initial introduction up until chapter 699. And it just put it all into perspective to me, and I came to really appreciate his character from then on out. Still to this very day, like I said before. And then when I read chapter 700, when I saw this, bro, my man made it, dog. You know, it's one thing to follow a story with somebody who has a dream, and they make it to it, but you experience it like immediately, right? So let's just say if I would have got into Naruto this year, and I went throughout that entire journey, and then I got to the end, I'm not sure if it would have hit as hard for me as if I literally would have grown up with that man, bro. I grew up with Naruto, dog, as I'm sure a lot of you did as well. And to see that he came from absolutely nothing and became the Hokage, the dream that he set out to do, was so inspirational, dog. Like, actually seeing the #1 hyperactive knucklehead ninja actually host the cloak in chapter 700, and people call him the Hokage, son. Something we had been waiting the entire series to see. Seeing, you know, the way that chapter was colored was so incredible to me, man. And just seeing everybody in the future, seeing how the world had changed, seeing Naruto and actually with his children, the fact that he got together with Hinata and then Sasuke and Sakura, seeing the rest of the shinobi in the series, seeing the homage to his rival Oda and the straw hat on the statue, on the monument, and I was like, bro, it's really over, right? You know, there's always that possibility that something will come back, we'll have a sequel, or like you'll have like a Z portion, like a GT portion, or whatever the case may be, especially since the last time I had followed a series for that amount of time I saw it end was Dragon Ball. So I was even though they said Naruto was ending, I was like, bro, this series is way too popular, there's no way it's ending. And it's, to be honest, it's kind of true, because Boruto's still going on. But in terms of Naruto by itself, just the series, just the manga that I followed for so many years, when I saw the cloak on his back, I was like, dog, it's over. And I just remember getting so emotional, and even then, it didn't register that it was over. Even then, I was like, nah, man, it's not, bro, Naruto's not over. Are you kidding me? It's Naruto, dog. This is the series that everyone reads every week. What kind of a weekly experience is it without Naruto, man? Like, it's the big three all together that make it such a complete experience. You have the ninjas on one end with Kishi's unique way of stories. You have Kubo's a unique way of telling stories with the Soul Reapers and an undead samurai greatness, and then you have the One Piece side with the pirates and Oda's incredible storytelling on that side too. So like all three of them together made for a majestic and marvelous weekly experience. I was like, bro, there's no way Naruto can end, man. And it didn't hit, even after I read the chapter, as emotional as I was reading that chapter, I was still just like in the state of shock and in the state of awe of like, bruh, our dude actually made it. And then right after that, I went and I listened to the openings, and opening 9 really struck a chord with me, man. Like opening 9, Yura Yura, when I listened to that soundtrack, I listened to it quite a few times that day, and it just hurt so much. I was like, Flagnards, man. But then even then it didn't hit me. When it really, really hit me, dog, and I legit teared up a bit, man, was when I watched Sawyer's video, bro. Sawyer 7 Mage. Because I had been watching his Naruto videos since I first got into the community. He's the one that I got into the community with in the first place through One Piece. Whenever I found the YouTube anime community was through him and his One Piece reviews. So I naturally also followed his Naruto reviews, but following his Naruto reviews before I started doing this whole thing in the first place was a thing that was just a part of my Naruto experience. Like, I would read a chapter, and then whenever I got home, I would put on a Sawyer Naruto review or something, right? Well, in the middle of waiting for a match to start on Call of Duty or something, that was just a weekly routine. And Sawyer became such a massive part of that experience. So whenever I watched his review for the finale of Naruto, I was like, dog, it's over. And that is when it hit. Like, when I saw his video pop up in the sub box, I was like, hold on, Skip. But when I actually finished it, I was like, bro, it's actually over, dog. Naruto is over. There is no question in my mind. The book has been closed. Kishi is done. Kishi is done, bro. And that is when it really hit. That's when everything that this series has had to offer to me up until this point in time, with the Naruto arena, the countless amounts of days in my childhood whenever I would spend on the computer playing Naruto Arena, going in the forums, talking about the manga online, listening to the Linkin Park AMVs, watching the series on YouTube or on Dailymotion in like 4 different separate things. Like, you'd have Naruto Shippuden episode 1 or 2, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Oh my goodness. I mean, everything that the series, that like, and then my memories of going to class and doing Naruto Storm tournaments in school at times, talking about the series with people who didn't want other people to know that they were into Naruto. Like, they would always tell me, yo, man, keep it low-key, dog. Like, and I'm like, bruh, come on, man. Be proud of what you like, dog. But there was so many people like that back in the day. It was insane, and just remembering all those memories of talking about the series, getting hyped over, having discussions over like lunch or on the bus with my cousins, the amount of hours we spent playing Clash of Ninja, and just the entire rain of nostalgia just came down upon me, and I could not help but tear up, bro, because I was like, by God, not only did Naruto make it, and this source of inspiration of Kishimoto telling us that if we continue to work hard enough, we can make it just like he did, but by God, the entire reign of nostalgia of the adventure up until that point in time hit me really, really hard. And I was like, man, dude, Naruto's over, bro. And still to this very day, I'll never forget how I felt on whenever that chapter dropped, man. Or I should say when those 2 chapters dropped. It was such a unique feeling because it was the first time I'd ever felt that. And then, of course, after that, I felt it again, and I would dare say even harder with Bleach, but that's a discussion for another day. But with Naruto, man, it definitely hit home really, really hard. And I remember when Shippuden, the anime, ended, I remember watching Khan's reaction to that. Uzumaki Khan. And it reminded me a lot of how we felt whenever Chapter 700 dropped. But unfortunately for the Shippuden anime, they didn't end it with Chapter 700, which is, I mean, I can understand to a certain extent why they decided to end it there. I mean, but Shippuden, to me, the anime should have ended with Naruto becoming Hokage. I mean, seriously, like, if Shippuden is the last thing that a viewer watches, then it should be Naruto becoming Hokage. That's the whole reason why he went on this journey in the first place. Not to see him get married to Hinata, it is to see him become the Hokage, son. Like, that was the goal from Chapter 1, from Jump Street. And that's one main problem. As much as I love the anime, and I love the openings, I love a lot of the scenes, Naruto has some of the greatest fighting sequences and our emotional moments that this medium has to offer through its animated form. But I just, that final sequence, as emotional as the last episode was, with like the Iruka and with the Iruka stuff and just all the memories there, I just really wish that they would have had one more episode dedicated to Chapter 700. Because, man, being able to see Naruto actually becoming Hokage is something that it's so hard to replicate, because you literally saw this man from the come up and become this adult, this, like, yo, he's a father now, he's a pops. You're like, yo, sometimes whenever I watch like an episode of Boruto, I'm like, bro, this man actually became Hokage. Like, it still sinks in sometimes, you know? It's madness. It's madness. and I could talk all day about how much the series impacted me when I was younger, but I just really, really wanted to dedicate a video. If I'm only talking about experiences from this decade, I really wanted to talk about the experience that was the end of Naruto and that entire finale, because even leading up to the finale in chapter 700, Naruto, the entire community's opinion, from what I remember, started changing with Naruto after the Five Kage Summit. Because the Five Kage Summit, that's when everything started changing in the community. Because in the Pain arc, of course, I don't think there was as many people into it as later on, but during the Pain arc in the manga, there was so much hype around the series. I mean, everybody was mad excited. There were spoilers all over the place, even before chapters dropped. Like, it was a mad time to be a fan of, even before then, like with the Jiraiya versus Pain stuff and the Sasuke versus Itachi stuff. That stuff, I mean, it was just all, everybody was losing their mind. I mean, that was just an amazing time to read that manga weekly. But after I wanted to get the Five Kage Summit, I felt like it started dropping off a bit. And it might be because of the greatness that was going on in the other two of the big three. One Piece was in Marineford, and Bleach was towards the end of the Ronkar saga. So it might be that during the beginning of the war / the Five Kage Summit, people's hype started dying down. But I feel like that was when the shift really started turning into a lot of people having a different perception, leaning more towards the negative side for the series. But there was still a lot of people who were massive fans, so it was like that combination of both of them, of like people saying, oh, it's going downhill, and other people saying it's still as good as ever. So then, whenever the actual war started, there was so, like, it was just all over the place of like how people felt about it. But for me, my favorite volume in the entire series is still this one, man, and it takes place in that arc, in the final arc. This is my favorite volume in the entire series, man. This is the most incredible stuff to me that Naruto has to offer, bro. This is 10 out of 10, creme de la creme, in my favorite flashbacks of all time. Of all time, son. I adore this. I'll never forget the first time I read it, bro. I was in what used to be, or what became my brother's room, but used to be like the family computer room. And I was in there when I believe it was, chapter 503 or 2 came out. And I was just tearing up like a madman, bro. Absolute insanity. But just, from then on, and then the war, even though I completely understand the sentiments of why a lot of people dislike the final arc due to the Obito twist and how that was handled as motivations, and I completely understand all that, man. But for me, on a personal level, and it might just be because of like it being so long since then, but I feel like that final arc, it's a lot of unwarranted. I'm not gonna say unwarranted, because I like I said, I can definitely see why people would dislike it, but it's just, I feel like the final arc is special in its own right, because it allows us to see so many different moments that we never thought we would ever see before. It's a very fan service heavy arc. And I feel like in that way it delivers on so many different levels. Because after that Obito reveal, which changes everything, I feel like that entire stretch of chapters from, chapter 600 all the way until 700 is filled with so much greatness that I enjoy. Like, I genuinely really enjoy going back and reading and or watching. Team 7 getting back together, Sasuke bringing back the Hokages, the Madara and Hashirama flashback, Madara turning into the Sage of Six Paths and fighting all of the 9 tails, all of the tail beasts. It was so godly. My guy going 8 gates, having the 4th Hokage, which is my GOAT, out on the field together with the other Hokage and with Naruto, bro, trolling, saying these massive long-named attacks, having these really cool sequences between Naruto and Sasuke, with the Susanoo and the Kyuubi, and it was just so beast, dude. Kakashi versus Obito and that entire thing, going back into Obito's flashback in of itself was what was insanity to me. Naruto and Obito's initial conversation with each other, which was really, really well handled in the anime, but in the manga, their initial interactions together, and seeing how Obito is this character, that if he would have taken just one other step, he could have gone down a different path. And just having Naruto and Obito have that is one of the key moments to me in the series, because I know that that when it comes to the Taku no Jutsu thing, it's kind of become a meme. But in that case, or in that in that particular portion, it just fits so well with the theme of the series up until that point in time. Naruto talking to Obito and really getting into the core of his heart is what the series is all about. And I'm so glad that we had that moment between those two characters, where we were not really able to have that moment with certain other characters happening on the line, like the Zetsus, the Kaguyas, and whatnot. And also, I'm really happy that we got that final moment between Hashirama and Madara, which was like Hashirama and Madara's same exact moment when it came to that to the Obito and Naruto stuff. So I'm so glad that we had those moments too. I mean, there's just so many. There's a lot of fantastic stuff that outweighs a lot of the other stuff, you know, and that's just the way that I look at that arc. That arc has a lot of stuff that is either it's very it's like John Cena, you know, like whenever John Cena comes out, you hear the boos, you hear the yays, but it has your attention. You're like, what is going to happen next? And I think that's something that is very fascinating about that arc, because even though there are some questionable decisions, I just feel like there's way too many memorable moments in that arc to just cast it aside as being complete garbage. I can't see it in that light. You know, I think back to the final Naruto and Sasuke battle. I think back to the goodbye between Minato and Naruto, man, that just absolutely destroyed. I mean, yo, that junk hit home so hard, dog. And like I was saying before, all of the greatness with Madara, the intensity, man, just it was so much fun. Like just having all of these characters you've always wanted to see all together in one place, and having like all the team attacks, all like the dream sequences, and it was wild, dog. It was wild, but it was just made for a very memorable experience. Like, say what you will, but I don't think anyone can deny that it was memorable, dog. Like, dude, it was extremely. It was such a crazy time period, and I just had so much fun with it, bro. I had so much fun, and I look back on it with I maybe massive nostalgia goggles even now, but I look back on it and I think very fondly of that time, and I guess maybe it is because it was the last time that we did have the series weekly along with the other two in the big three, but I always look forward to those three series so much. But having Naruto actually becoming Hokage there in the end, man, that's like one of those panels that just stick out to you from a generation. Like whenever I think of just panels that will forever leave an impact on me, that's one of them right there. Like actually seeing this character that announced his dream whenever I was but a youngling, and then whenever I was a full-fledged adult, being able to see him actually accomplish that dream, it's a feeling I'll never forget. It's a feeling I'll always cherish, man. But aside from that, dog, already is an awesome sauce of a day, man. Naruto greatness, bro. I'll always appreciate the journey and the wonderful adventure that Kishimoto gave us, and that incredible and really, really fun weekly experience, and all the discussions and all the fun times. But yeah, man, that initial Naruto experience, bro, it's something that always be special to, I think, not only me, but I think to a lot of us, man. That's why I really wanted to talk about it, bro. Especially the ending of that experience, just seeing it all come into fruition, and just those two final chapters changed the game, man. It changed everything. It changed the community forever. The community has not been the same since Naruto. There's been so many people that left, that have left since then, and I feel like things haven't been the same since then. You know, some for the better, some for the worse, but we continue moving forward, man. We continue moving forward, and still having fun here on YouTube, but still looking back very fondly on those times when Naruto was still around and still in the community, because it was always a worthy talking point when discussing what was currently going down in the series. And I'll never forget those hangouts and those Skype calls or the streams of talking about the latest installments and then what was going down in the Naruto series at that point in time. They were always fun, man. But everybody, however, it is an awesome day, man. Let me know your experiences with the final chapter of Naruto and that entire ending there. If you did experience it weekly, or if you just experienced it just recently, I would definitely love to hear your opinions on that, because that'll give me a brand new perspective on how somebody who binged through the series perhaps would feel about it. You know what I'm saying? But aside from that, man, everybody has an awesome day. Shout out to Kishimoto, bro. I really hope, I wish him well with what's currently going down. And what is his new series called? Samurai 8? I haven't read a chapter of that, but because he's impacted so many people with Naruto, I really hope Samurai 8 goes very well for him. And one day I will sit down and read that series as well, man. But everybody has an awesome of a day. Naruto greatness. Where's the headband that skip? I don't know. Oh, here it is. The headband, coach.